Today, we are going to be talking about what happens after you leave an abuser. And I think leave is too soft a word to put on what happens when you are planning to get the hell out of Dodge, get out safely, and keep yourself safe and your children safe going forward. You don't leave an abuser, you escape from an abuser. And how do you do that and remain safe going forward? The more information you have about what you're getting into, the better prepared you're going to be to deal with it. Because otherwise, they can end up ambushing you and making it hard to think on the spot. If you've got PTSD, and believe me, if you've lived with a covert abuser, you've got PTSD. And it's not like you were on a real life battlefield. You were on the battlefield of your home, which was supposed to be your safe sanctuary. And now you're having to watch your every move, walk, sleep, live on eggshells, wondering what innocent comment that you've made is going to set them off today, and how you're going to be attacked, or how the children are going to be attacked. And how do you protect yourself and your children when the person that's supposed to love and honor and cherish you for the rest of your life is now someone you have to protect yourself from, and who is living under your own roof? So if you think you've got symptoms of PTSD, check it out with your doctor. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm a domestic violence advocate. But I'll tell you, therapists don't get training as a rule on covert abuse or coercive control. And so they're liable to end up inadvertently re-victimizing you and traumatizing you and victim blaming you for your normal response to the very unhealthy situation you've been thrust into through no fault of your own. Don't let them tell you it's, oh, your childhood wounds, or what are you doing to contribute to the problem? Or are you using your I statements or your assertiveness statements? Are you setting clearer boundaries? When you're dealing with a covert abuser, none of that applies. They get to set boundaries, but God forbid you should ask them not to wake you up at midnight to rant about something that happened to them at the office that day. You will get punished for trying to set boundaries. You will get punished for telling them the truth. If you ask them to stop doing something that's hurting you, they may end up doing more of it. They may deny ever having done it. They may thrust it back on you and make it your problem, your fault, projecting it on you, accusing you of the very thing that they've been doing, flipping it on its head. So common, we have a term for it. It's called DARVO, deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. Deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender, DARVO, and they are champions at that. So don't ever think that you're going to become the kind of adept strategist that they are, but that doesn't mean you can't start to learn certain strategies to better defend yourself against their strategies. So the way to go into this is not to be thinking that you're going to become like your abuser. You may be thinking like him in some ways. You're going to be developing potential strategies to keep you safe that may mirror some of his behavior. But the difference between him and you is you're operating from a position of moral authority, from integrity, from wanting to protect yourself and your children, whereas he's operating from a position of wanting to destroy you, a winner take all. Life is a zero-sum game. With a covert abuser, it's not. There's plenty of love and affection and attention and money to go around. No, there's not enough. And every little bit that he can get has to go to him. He could be a billionaire and still not have enough. He could own islands, he could own a planet, and it still won't be enough. So don't think that there's something that you can do to make things right. If I just try this, if I just get the kids to bed earlier, if Johnny just gets an A in his next report card, if Sally scores a goal in this soccer game, then we'll have a good day. Not necessarily. So it's not that there's anything that you can do to make things okay in the end. It's not your problem to solve. You didn't cause it. You can't change it. You can't cure it. All you can do is protect yourself from it. So what's going to happen once you escape from a covert abuser? Oh, a lot. A lot is going to happen. Don't let that discourage you from planning your escape. Don't think, oh, better a known devil than an unknown angel. And there will be unknown devils out there too. But you know that the devil that you're living with is having a daily impact on you and on your children. Who were you before you got into this relationship? Who are you now? Has any part of you changed as a result of being in this relationship? Are you that same carefree, joyful, spontaneous, creative, confident soul that you were before. The longer you stay with a covert abuser, the more devastating the impact on you, on your spirit, on every aspect of who you are. That's one of the reasons why I call coercive control the ultimate form of identity theft, because it steals you from who you were before you got into this relationship. Coercive control, a pattern of threatening, isolating, controlling behavior that ends up entrapping you and making you feel like a prisoner in your own personal life, a prisoner in your own home, potentially a prisoner at work, outside the home. If you are trying to spend any time with your friends, trying to have any outside interests that don't involve him, are you being made to pay for it in some way? Do you have to account for your every waking moment? Are you held to account if you get home late? If you are out past curfew? Can you go away on trips with your friends and not be punished for it later? Can you have some outside period in your life that you can call your own? Or is he trying to own, operate, and control every aspect of your life, especially around the home? Does he have a lot of rules that he enforces around childcare? And are you responsible for, even if you're holding down a full-time job, is it you who's doing all the meal preparation, all the childcare, keeping the house going, all the shopping, everything it takes to keep the house in order? Are you feeling like somewhat of a Stepford wife as a result of being in this relationship? That's what coercive control does to you. And it can be in your face, like, no, I'm not going to let you look at the joint account. In fact, I'm going to take you off the joint account. If you want money, you come to me. If you try to leave me, I will hunt you down. You will have nothing. You'll be a bag lady. I will destroy you. That's kind of in your face, an overt abuser. And there is a lot of that, but there is also the more covert form where you ask a question about finances, and then the next day you find that you've been locked out of your account, and your husband might shrug, your partner might say, I don't know what happened there. Or you may tell him that you've got a really important job interview coming up, and you have a little disagreement, and the next morning you can't find your keys to your car. And he's wondering what's happening to your memory. How can you hold down a job if you can't even find the keys to your job, keys to your car to get there? And little do you know, he's hidden them. Or he offers to help you with that new software. And you find out later that he's been stalking you through that software. And you might say to him, have you been reading my emails? And he may say in this most indignant way, I never touched your computer. And that's true, but it's not the whole truth and nothing but the truth. The fact is he's been accessing them remotely. So that's what happens when you're in the hands of a covert abuser. They can do a number on your mind where you're ending up second guessing yourself. And if you're capable of self-reflection, that's going to be weaponized, because you're going to think, is there something that I forgot here? Am I overreacting? Maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe I misheard him. Maybe I misinterpreted. Maybe I'm too sensitive. All sorts of things will come back to haunt you when you're with a covert abuser, because your own ability and willingness to do self-reflection will be weaponized against you. Now try explaining that to an outside friend, colleague, observer, provider. The average person understands the gun to the head, the overt threats to kill. The average person does not understand the veiled threats, the consequences that happen when you don't toe the line. It's not just what he says, it's what he doesn't say. And then it's the weaponization of silence. Even the silent treatment can become a weapon. Silence can become a weapon in the hands of a covert abuser, where you are shut out and you are shunned. There's a reason why they put you in solitary confinement to punish you in prison, or why the Amish use banishing as one of the ultimate forms of punishment. They treat you as if you don't exist. They separate you, isolate you. We are social creatures, and that's a really intense form of punishment. Covert abusers know that, and they will use that to punish you. They will isolate you from friends, from family, from your colleagues at work. They may even call up your boss, or if you've had an office party, get to know some of your colleagues and start to express concern for your mental health. So watch out for these little seeds that get planted. It's not everything all at once that they lay out there. That would be too obvious. It's the little seeds of concern. And then the little, these dropping little hints about, oh, how you may have had one too many drinks at the party, and that's not the first time you've done that. And oh, how he has to sometimes take over the wheel because he's concerned for the safety of the children while you're driving. Meanwhile, it's probably him who is making you feel unsafe behind the wheel. Has he ever turned the car into a weapon and used it against you? Has he ever turned the bathroom into a weapon and used it against you? I'll tell you, a lot of my ladies have bathroom stories because that's the place where you can ultimately humiliate, shame, and psychologically torture someone where they have no escape. And that's one reason why typical domestic violence advocates will say, be careful about being in a room with your partner if he's starting to ramp up where there's only one exit, one entrance, and they're the same thing. You want to stay away from the bathroom because there are ladies who are even in the midst of using the facilities, if you know what I mean. And that's when their partner chooses to come in and rant and rave and tower over them. So many forms of abuse all in one, that shaming, that humiliation, that intimidation, that absolute violation of your boundaries. And they are so good at that, with one move, accomplishing several purposes. So after you escape from a covert abuser, you'll see it again. You'll see it in court, where with one move, they'll accomplish several purposes. Going after full custody of the children because they're concerned about your mental health. Oh, Your Honor, I love my kids so much, and I'm so worried about their safety. You know, my wife, she's had these mental health issues before. If she's been on a 5150 hold, why has she been on a 5150 hold? Maybe it was as a result of the abuse she experienced, but the average innocent observer may just be going by surface appearance. All too often, we judge a book by its cover, and she may have been on a 5150 hold because she was driven there by her abusive partner. When you're living with a covert abuser, they can literally drive you mad. They can take a sane person and drive them crazy. And I've had many ladies calling me that sound very disoriented, very confused, very scattered, the whole deer in the headlights look. And you may have felt that way yourself. I've been there. But we have to think about the circumstances that they're reaching out for help under. So in court, you can take somebody that is a covert abuser and they thrive on this kind of grandstanding and this kind of attention. Here they are, the center of attention. And of course, they've been lying easily and often through the course of your relationship, right? Did you find that they would lie even when they didn't need to? It's like they just wanted to keep in practice. Well, here they are. They've got a captive audience and a stage. And now they're expressing concern to the judge about your mental health and how much they miss the children. Even if they were neglectful or abusive towards the children in the past, suddenly they can't bear to be without them. And little Johnny and Sally, when they're over at Dad's house now, it's Disneyland. And over at your place, now you're the mean mom that makes them go to bed on time and eat decent breakfast instead of chocolate bars and do homework instead of video games. So watch out for your desire to be a healthy parent that sets clear boundaries and shows them what healthy love looks like. Watch out for that being weaponized by your partner, because love means being able to set boundaries and expectations and to respect each other's boundaries and expectations. So with a covert abuser, you're not allowed to do that. And it's going to come to the fore in the court setting, where he may try to go after full custody of the children because he's concerned about your mental health. And what happens as a result of doing that? The whole accomplishing several purposes with one move. Well, he gets to look good in the eyes of the judge. He gets to save money on child support, and he gets to stick it to you as the mother to attack you where it hurts the most with your children. So the average person can't wrap their mind around that form of evil. And yes, that's what I call it. There's no diagnostic label description for evil in the DSM. But I'll tell you, evil's been around a lot longer than psychology. And therapists can do a lot of good in terms of healing and long-term care. But when we're talking about living with a covert abuser, I was a teacher before becoming a domestic violence advocate. And that's why I put such strong focus on education, because here the best form of intervention, best form of prevention, but if not prevention, then intervention is education. The more that you know about what you're dealing with, the better able you're going to be to protect yourself from it. So watch out for going into court thinking that, oh, the relationship is ending now. He's going to want to settle for the sake of the children. He'll want peace, if not for my sake, then for theirs. That's you thinking. Watch out that you don't project your own values onto him. Your own values as a good person who wants peace and intimacy and connection and the sense of security, solidarity, and companionship. That's why you entered into that relationship, right? Not realizing that your ex had an opposite set of values. This is a person that thrives on chaos. They are agents of chaos. They thrive on drama and trauma, and they seem to enjoy either witnessing or causing suffering to the very people they should be protecting the most, you and your children. So how to wrap your mind around that? Don't even try, because you will, like the little centipede, after he was asked, how can you run with 100 feet? He suddenly starts thinking about it and is lying on his back with his 100 legs wiggling. How did I do that? Don't even start trying to think about wrapping your mind around what drives the covert abuser to do what he does, beyond recognizing that the way they thrive is on causing pain and fear and suffering, just as the way you thrive is on creating an atmosphere of love and peace and security and safety. If that's what drives you, don't try to wrap your mind around somebody who's driven by an opposite set of values. You'll see it in court, and they will often use the same kinds of MO and tactics that they used on you, like stonewalling, the silent treatment, in court later. So be thinking back to what was his MO while we were in the relationship. If I asked him a question and he didn't want to answer it, if I showed some concern about our finances, how did he punish me? Did you find yourself locked out? Did you find yourself getting the silent treatment for several days? Now, fast forward to the court system. Are you asking for things? And how long is it going to take to get them? Are you expecting to settle soon, to move on with your life? That's another way that he could want to punish you, by letting things drag out, and drag out. Continuance after continuance, asking for papers and not receiving them. Having to do this motion to compel discovery, and ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching each time you have to ask your attorney to how you can speed things up. It's so strange that, as selfish and stingy as a covert abuser may be with you, he may be buying all kinds of things for himself, and yet you have to explain every purchase. But now suddenly there's an endless supply of money funneled to his attorney and into the court system because it's about sticking it to you and punishing you. Suddenly money appears where it was so scarce before. After you escape from a covert abuser, it's not just the court system that you're going to have to be careful about, is the whole issue of stalking and telling it like it is. And I hate telling it like it is. I'd like to say, you know, when you leave an abuser, when you escape an abuser, we can all go to Disneyland. We'll go to the beach and live happily ever after. Virginia, I'd love to tell you there's still a Santa Claus, but there is in your heart, right? There is peace and safety and freedom in your heart, and you can build your own safe kingdom around you. But don't be naive about it. Remember when you entered into this relationship and you took him at face value, what happened there? Don't take your newfound freedom at face value. There will be creatures lying in wait for you. And that doesn't mean don't leave. That doesn't mean give up. That doesn't mean surrender. Think what would have happened to our forefathers and our foremothers if they had given up in that land that they fled from. Yes, it's another kind of oppression, but it's being played out in your home. This need to dominate, to subjugate, to conquer, to punish, and then to destroy. We've seen it played out through history. It's patriarchy on steroids when it comes to the covert abuser. So what do we do in response? Do we give up? Do we become the centipede with our little legs wiggling in the air? I don't think so. I think not. Because we are women first. We are women warriors now, and we're not going to lay down and play dead now. We're not going to surrender. We're not, never say die, never give up. Remember Winston Churchill, that's how we made it through the Second World War. We will fight them in the trenches. You know, that inspiring speech. And I would encourage you to watch movies like Wonder Woman and look at the people that made history, that fought oppression. You're fighting your own kind of oppression, your own form of tyranny. Don't let the abuser win. Stalking, lethality risk, yes, it increases after you escape from a covert abuser. So that's why safety planning never stops. That's why you want to be thinking about, do you have a Ring doorbell? Do you have a deadbolt on the inside of your door? Are you enrolled, if you're in California, in the Safe at Home program, where that keeps your new address, if you've moved to a new address, or keeps your address out of the public record. So look into issues like protecting your address and your personal information. Do a Google search and see how easy it is it for you to come up on the web and what is revealed about you as a result. Be careful about when you're taking photos and you're on vacation, or when you're over at a friend's house, geotagging where you are so that your location appears on in your Facebook posts. Watch out for the weaponization of social media. Remember, anything in the hands of a covert abuser can become a weapon, even and especially social media. Oh, speaking of that, watch out for smear campaigns and flying monkeys that will be recruited. You know the term flying monkeys. It's about having him get to the people in your sphere of influence first and convince them that you are the problem, that he's been trying so hard to make things work, to work things out. And he's discovered, well, he's been on this Facebook page now, this Facebook group that he joined because he's discovered that you have borderline personality, or you've got some kind of mental health disorder, and he's very concerned about the safety of the children now that they're in your incapable hands. So watch out for the smear campaign. They are adept at it. Remember, they spin lies in with truth. They weave them together seamlessly to make the lies more credible. In fact, one of my survivors had her husband was a litigating attorney, and he said, you know how you destroy somebody's character? If you want to, like, this is how the bad guys entertain themselves, dreaming about how they would destroy somebody's character and reputation. Well, first of all, you express how much you care about them, how concerned you are about them, and then this is like each time you have an encounter with them, you drop another seed. Lately, you've been wondering or concerned about some behaviors you've seen, that you're at this party with them, and boy, they had a little bit too much to drink, and it's not their first time. And I've been kind of concerned about that, especially, when we're driving home, I've had to take over the wheel. Mind you, it might, as I said before, might have been you doing it, having to take over for your husband. He'll often take the things that he's done to you, flip them on their head, and make you the perpetrator, because it's easier for him to remember his lies. He just has to remember what he did and then project it onto you. So little by little, each time he has a meeting with somebody in your shared social network, he's going to plant these little seeds, more and more, showing more and more concern about your mental health, a possible addiction, and your ability to care for the children. So, and then he said, here's what you do. You sprinkle truth in with the lies to make the lies more credible. And that's how you destroy somebody's character. 1, 2, 3. And they do have playbooks. One of them is The Art of War by Lao Tzu. Another is the 48 Laws of Power and the 48 Laws of Seduction and Strategy. There's a whole bunch of his books along those lines. And another one, sorry to say, the title is called Screw the Bitch. And it has a picture of a woman looking very much like a zombie on the front cover. So if you think they don't have playbooks, or they're not all getting together in the back room thinking, how can we do justice to the title of this book, then think again, because if there's someone like me running a program for survivors of covert abusers, do you not think that there are other groups that get together that are working for the other team? So if we know what's out there, if we start to learn some of their strategies, some of their tactics, and maybe even mirror some of them, do you have to answer that email right away? Can you be thinking about strategies and tactics that are legal, that are honest, but that are in your favor, that are protecting you? Stonewalling, not answering every email, being very careful about what you agree to do, keeping things calm on the surface. The image that I use, that's why I have this lovely scene from the park in San Francisco with the calm lake behind us and the little duckies on the water? Can you be that little ducky on the water with the GoPro camera? Imagine it on your forehead, filming every move as if everything were being played back in a court of law, and you'd be just fine with it being played back in a court of law. Because watch out when you're planning to leave an abuser after you've left / escaped, he's going to be looking for ways to snooker you. I have many survivors who've ended up on 5150 holds or in jail with restraining orders against them, who've lost custody of their children, who've been framed, who've been set up. And sometimes they have reached out and they have torn their husband's shirt or put their hands on his face to turn his face back to theirs when he's ramping them up after not letting her sleep all night and threatening to do all kinds of horrible things to her. And then there's this moment of truth where he has finally gotcha. That's what gets filmed. That's what gets played back in court. So you be your little ducky with the GoPro camera on your forehead, filming everything, even the exchange of the children, because watch out, he's going to be trying to ambush you. They don't play fair. They run with scissors. They don't share. They don't play fair. Financial risks. After you escape, while you're with your abuser, was he controlling around money? Did he weaponize money? In some cases, our survivors have had free reign with the money. But in most cases, there's been tremendous financial abuse in addition to all the other types of abuse. So watch out for that when after you escape from an abuser, because he may have all kinds of hidden accounts that he hasn't told you about. He may be trying to go after you for spousal support. Suddenly, oh, he's ill or he's depressed because of how abusive you were. And now you're at risk of having to pay spousal support to him if you're the higher earner. Suddenly he's lost his job. Your retirement savings, are they at risk? Could you end up having to share your retirement savings with your abuser? Money may have become a 4-letter word in the course of your relationship, because anything in the hands of a covert abuser can become a weapon, especially money. It's a way they reward. It's especially a way they punish. And like I said before, there's never enough of any kind of resource to go around, especially money. They want it all for themselves. Your idea going into the court process may be to settle so everybody gets treated fairly. His idea of being treated fairly is for him to get everything and you to get nothing. Life is a zero-sum game. If you win at any moment, that means he's lost. So keeping that in mind, can you, maybe if you haven't worked with a therapist yet, and if you can find a trauma-informed therapist, that'll help you keep your sanity through this process. But if you have some trauma triggers around money, can you work with a therapist so that you are not hiding the bills when they come, or taking 2 weeks to get to them because you freeze whenever you have to write a check? Or have you put everything on auto pay and you don't even know what's on auto pay anymore because you're too afraid to check? They will, they can turn your ability and your willingness to keep control of your finances into a source of fear. And that can set you back. So maybe you can talk to a therapist about that, especially one that's trauma informed, especially one that may be knowledgeable about EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy, or there's something new called brain spotting now, if you find a qualified therapist to help you with that. But if you can address these specific trauma triggers, when you go to the post office to pick up your spousal support check, is that has the post office now become a trigger for you? If you're going to the playground where some horrible thing happened with your ex there, where there's some terrible encounter, now our playgrounds assuming that kind of trauma trigger status for you. That's what PTSD is. It's a series of classical conditioning moments where all these different places start to develop these trauma triggers for you. And then you get these intrusive thoughts and nightmares and memories that make it hard to function. And that's when he will win. If he gets you to the point where you're not able to function anymore, that's his goal. And that'll never stop being his goal. So what are we going to do? Are we going to let him win? Are we going to lie down and surrender? Or are we going to fight and continue to fight? Not to destroy, but to create our own life, fight for our own right to be free and safe in our own home. in our own relationships to go on and live this life of happiness. It's Happy New Year, Happy New Year. And we deserve to have peace and safety and freedom in our homes, in our relationships. You deserve that going into this relationship. You deserve it coming out. And if you start to build your village, gather your allies, do your safety planning, think about your resources, your finances, get therapy from a trauma-informed therapist to help you recover from all the internal wounds, the internal hemorrhaging that's happened as a result of living with a covert abuser. You don't come out of this unscathed, but you can be healed over time, and you can go on to live a happy, healthy life while still being vigilant. And that doesn't mean being paranoid. It means taking moments to enjoy your new life of freedom. Freedom comes at a cost. You're creating your own kingdom where you are the queen, and you get to invite into it anybody that deserves to be with you, because you're all beautiful people, a beautiful soul. I'm not talking about runway models here, though all of you are all attractive, and that's one of the reasons why he chose you. They're looking for these trophy creatures, these resources to use and use up and then dispose of if they're no longer deemed to be useful. And isn't that a cold, cold way to look at a partner? And it's the opposite of what you were looking for. You got sold a bill of goods through no fault of your own. That was the ultimate bait and switch he pulled through your innocent heart, because we're taught to judge a book by its cover, to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Now we want to go forward and have them earn our trust. You share a little, they share a little. You share a little more, they share a little more. After a date, you come home and you write down how you're feeling about it, even bullet point form. Do you feel uplifted, supported, loved, safe? Or are you second guessing something you said? Are you suddenly starting to wonder, oh, am I wearing too much makeup? Not enough? Dressing too sexy? Not sexy enough? If you're starting to question yourself going forward, that's a red flag. That's a whole other talk we'll do on recognizing early warning signs of controlling behavior. It's a jungle out there, my dears, but that doesn't mean that we can't be safe in exploring it and celebrating it and having our own adventures. So let's keep holding hands, and over time we will learn to distinguish between the creatures that are safe to the other beings on this planet that are safe to connect with, to form relationships with, because there are good men out there. There still are a lot of good men out there, but we want to, if we're going to go swimming in the ocean, we want to be able to recognize the sharks from the dolphins. So over time, that's exactly what we're going to do. Happy New Year. Happy life. Happy everything, because you deserve it all.